Good afternoon, everyone. So for today, we're going to discuss our last topic for Linguistics 1, which is parts of speech. So for our objectives for this last topic, at the end of the lesson, the students should be able to refresh one's knowledge in the different parts of speech. Okay, so for this topic, we start off that words in language behave differently from each other. So in addition to that, not each word is entirely different from all other words in that language. For example, when we are learning a language, when we are able to parse or categorize words according to the different classes that they belong to, it somehow makes it easier or helps us to learn a specific language. So same is true naman for most of the languages in the world, including English. So words can be categorized into parts of speech or what we call as your lexical categories pa in the old or in your traditional grammar or what we call as well as your word classes. So parts of speech are based on their morphological, syntactic, and semantic properties. So fortunately, we have already discussed these different terms included here in the properties under your parts of speech, such as your morphological. So for example, we can classify or we came up with our parts of speech according to their word makeup or how we form those words. So we also have your syntactic properties. These are properties that dictate kumbaga on how we can combine those different parts of speech with other expressions such as your word order. So for example, your adjective where or sa ang mga parts of speech po ba siya pwede i-combine or usually kino-combine. And lastly, your semantic properties, which refers, of course, to the meaning of a specific part of speech. So our parts of speech are also classified or could be classified into open and closed classes. So we have your open class. So open class are in open class, kumbaga, new and new items are added to the class over the time. So open class, under open class, we have the following parts of speech. You have your nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. So tinatawag sila na open class or under sila sa open class because over time or for example, annually, may mga new words na nadadagdag sa dictionary, for example, and usually those are comprised of words belonging to this different categories such as your nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. So for example na lang, for January 2021, Merriam-Webster has added several words in their dictionary or in their data. So for example, we have your flex. So flex is already a common word or a common word or included in the dictionary. Kasi if your act, kumbaga, so when you say flex, di ba, flex ko lang. So flex referring to the act of showing off or showing off something or someone. We also have your different words like your ASMR, your sapiosexual, your cancel culture. Those are some of the new words included in the Merriam-Webster dictionary. And they also belong to these different parts of speech, most of them. Nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. Kaya open class kasi nadadagdagan over time. Closed class, on the other hand, contains small number of words. So no items are added very rarely. So under closed class naman, they are called the said name or they are given the name closed class because so ano lang siya, limited lang yung number of words to those parts of speech under closed class. And if may ma-add man, it's like once of a blue moon. Very rarely lang na may ma-add or madagdag for this part of speech under closed class. So those parts of speech are mainly determiners, pronouns, prepositions, and conjunctions. So we will discuss these parts of speech in this topic or presentation. Although I know this is not a new topic to you, so this is also a sort of refresher to wrap up our class or for the term of Linguistics 1. So first, we have your open classes, your nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. So firstly, we have your nouns. So in terms of semantics or meaning, nouns refer to a name of a person, a thing, or place. So for example, name of a person or a man, for example, a city or place, smartphone. This is a name of a thing or an object. So it could be, we have different categories for your nouns as well. We have your proper and your common noun. For example, common noun, general, this one for the first line, man, city, smartphone. The second line of the examples that we have here are what we call as your proper nouns or your specific name of a person, a thing, or a place. Like your Levi. So this is a name of a man. Coronadal, a name of a city. Samsung, a name or a brand name of a smartphone or gadget or appliance. So for example, we have the following sentences. Levi is a strong person. So Levi here is our noun, which is a name of a person. So we have two nouns actually in this sentence, Levi and person. So name of a person, as it says, a person is also a noun, and Levi, a specific name of a person or a man. So I live in a developing city. Our noun here is your city because this is an example or this refers to a place. Kumbaga. So in terms of morphology under your nouns, so nouns have grammatical morphemes or inflections for forming your plural and possessive forms. So if we go back to your morphology, we have there your inflectional morphemes that we have discussed, your 7 inflectional morphemes. And 2 of them, diba, if you can remember or if you will backtrack, kumbaga sa discussion natin about your inflectional morphemes, we have there two morphemes which forms words for your nouns without changing the word class or part of speech. So for example, we have your apostrophe S and your pluralizer na S for your inflectional morpheme for plural and possessive form of nouns. So for example, we have here Susans and puppies. So Susan is already a noun, puppy is already a noun, a name of an animal, a name of a person. By adding your apostrophe S, it does not change the word class as we have discussed in the past during our discussion with morphology or in particular your inflectional morphemes. So the same lang, this is still a noun, even may apostrophe S na, noun pa rin, Susans. This your apostrophe S just made it or it shows possession lang. Susan's bag. So it shows ownership that bag is owned by Susan. Puppy's bone, for example, that bone is owned by the puppy. So we also have your tumblers and your geese. For your plural, na pluralizer, for example, na fork. So we add S for most nouns to signify their plural form. Or sometimes, pag hindi applicable, ang S or your pluralizer na S, nag-change ang form for some spelling of some nouns like your goose. So goose is singular. If you are going to change it into its plural form, it becomes geese. Same with your feet rather. So like that. So nouns have endings or derivational morphemes as well that formally indicate that the word is a noun. So some derivational morphemes that you could watch out for when you are identifying whether a word is a part of your noun or nabilong siya sa noun as a part of speech. So some examples, most words ending with ness and ment refer to your nouns like your darkness, sadness, government, and your embodiment. So dark, the base form, for example, your dark, this is an adjective, but when ness was added, it became a noun. Same with your sad. Govern and embody, these are verbs, but when ment was added, government and embodiment, they became examples of nouns. So in terms of syntax naman, nouns usually have a determiner, except for your proper names like John. So your determiner, like as we have discussed as well in your last lesson in word order and adjectives, so your determiner are your a, your an, your the, yung iba pang determiners under that, your numbers, your few, several, one, many, and so on and so forth. So ganon usually ang syntax niya or property, ang combination, determiner, and then your noun, and also it can be modified by an adjective. So usually determiner muna and then yung noun, or if may adjective, determiner, adjective, and then the noun. So for some examples rather that we have here, a cat, so determiner na a or article, specifically, determiner na a, cat is your noun. Many kisses, so we still have your determiner. We also have your kisses noun, few men, several sheep, a small cat, many exciting kisses, a few clever men, several bored sheep. Next, you also have your verbs. So verbs usually describe an action, a process, or a state of being. So what we usually remember or put in mind when we talk about verbs, di ba, is action gid siya. Describes an action or a process or a state of being. So for example, in the sentence, Roman sat down on the bench. So our verb here is sat, phrasal verb, sat down, kumbaga. So verb, kumbaga, or the action being done here by Roman is the action of sitting down or sitting. Past na lang to, past form na is of course your sat. We also have your I am happy, as I have discussed in the last topics or in the recent topics that we had in still in word order, that sometimes if walang main verb, we consider our auxiliary verbs or our linking verbs as the verb in the sentence. Like in this example, I am happy. Am here is our verb, or another form of your be verb. So you just go back to the table that I have provided under your word order in syntax na PowerPoint presentation, because I have, or the PDF rather, because I have given there the table for the different auxiliary verbs and their modal verbs as well. So in terms of morphology or word structure, it has our verbs take on different forms, like your tenses of the verb. So third person, past tense, present tense, past participle, present participle. So we have the following examples, the different forms of your verb. Verb walk, we have walks, walked, walk, walking. For the verb go, go, goes, went, gone, going. For the verb buy and run, we have the following forms as well. So in terms of syntax, verbs can combine with an auxiliary. So your auxiliary verb again are being mentioned, like your will, your have, your should, your must, and your is. They can combine with your verbs. So sila in these examples, they function as auxiliary na verb, which links to the main verb, which are your go, your seen, your run, your live, and your swimming. So sometimes when they combine with an auxiliary, it shows your different tenses of the verb. The will go, future. Your have seen, present perfect. Should run, future pa rin. Your must live, kumbaga, it's your, or it indicates your mandatory ba, kumbaga, or kailangan, you must live. So must, mandatory, obligatory, siya, or you are obligated to do this action of living. Is swimming, so it indicates usually, if your is combined with your ing form ng verb, it indicates your present tense. So another, it can be, or our verbs can be modified by an adverb. In the following examples, we have here, usually sleeps, and your read carefully. So usually sleeps, the action here is your sleeps. Usually is the adverb. So usually is an example of adverb of frequency. How often, kumbaga. So usually, it normally happens or it typically happens, usually. So read carefully. As I have told you in the word order sa the discussion and adverbs as well. So read carefully, our verb here is read. Our adverb is carefully. So carefully is an example of adverb of manner for this example. So adjectives, in terms of semantics or meaning, adjectives usually describe a quality or attribute. For example, when you are asked to describe or to paint a picture or to to imagine someone or give a compliment to someone, you usually make use of your adjectives, such as you're pretty, you're patient, honest, loyal, traditional, indecisive, and kung ano pa dila ng mga adjectives that comes to mind. So these are usually words that describe a quality or attribute of a noun, a person. For example, a pretty woman. So this is used, or pretty is a word used to describe a quality of a person. Kumbaga. In terms of morphology naman, or the forms that adjectives take, it can take form, for example, for your comparative and superlative form. For example, we use in your inflectional morpheme, we make use of your ER and EST to form comparative and superlative forms. Like your full, you add your ER to show comparative form, fuller, fullest for superlative form. Or sometimes we make use as well sa mga adjectives na hindi applicable ng ER and EST. We make use of your more and most for comparative and superlative, or your less and least. So for example, hindi man pwede successfuler, hindi man successfulest. So we make use of more successful, most successful, less successful, least successful. Or for your irregular adjectives na nag-iiba talaga yung spelling, so we have there good, hindi man gooder, hindi man goodest. So good, better, best. So morphology, in terms of morphology, many adjectives can be changed into adverbs by simply adding your ly na suffix. So we have here these words on the left, your sad, nice, funny, and beautiful. These are examples of adjectives. But when we add your suffix ly to this one, your derivational suffix na ly, or morpheme rather, when we add them, this is transformed into an adverb. Sad, sadly, nice, nicely, funny, funnily, beautiful, beautifully. So this one on the right, these words on the right with your ly are adverbs. So in terms of syntactic properties, adjectives can modify a noun or describes a noun. In your following examples, you have here a tall man, a cool day, a wonderful trip. So it describes or says something about the noun. So it usually comes first, or it precedes your noun in terms of word order or position. Yung adjective muna before your noun. So a tall man, what kind of man? Short ba, tall, tama-tama lang. So what kind of day? A cold day, a hot day, a humid day. What kind of trip was that? A wonderful trip, a dreadful trip. So aside from that, adjectives can be modified by an adverb as well. So for example, very clever, extremely clever, unusually hot. So our adjective here is your clever and your hot. So very and extremely, so these are your adverbs. In these phrases or these two examples, first two examples, they function, yung very and extremely na adverb, they function as intensifier. Ano ka clever? Very clever. Or same with your clever, kumbaga nito extremely, gabi-gabi gid bang ang pagka-clever, kumbaga, or tama-tama lang. So with the use of your intensifier na extremely, so you'll get an idea na hindi gid siya ordinary lang ang pagka-clever or pagkamaro. So same with your unusually hot as well. So next, we also have your adverbs. So adverbs can modify verbs, hence they are called adverbs. So they could also modify adjectives, and sometimes they could also modify other adverbs. So for example, we have here stop abruptly, usually eat, amazingly cheap, very bad, quite nice, very quickly, and your quite soon. So for the first line, this your abruptly and usually, these are your adverbs here. They modify your verbs na stop and eat. So we also have there, you're amazingly cheap, very bad, quite nice. So those are examples naman of your adverbs modifying adjectives. So cheap, bad, nice. And then we also have these two examples, very quickly and quite soon. So this is an example, your very and quite adverbs modifying other adverbs. So in terms of morphology, adverbs are often formed from adjectives with the use of your ly na suffix. Like your quickly, beautifully, honestly, as I have shown you in the previous slide under your adjectives. Na adjectives can be changed from adjectives, pwede siya maging adverb if we add your ly. So syempre, you make sure as well that when you add ly, na that word exists and it qualifies as an adverb. Hindi lang magpataka na magdagdag sang ly para anan, adverb na siya. Kumbaga. So you also have to see if that word exists and it qualifies as an adverb. So next, you also have your closed classes. So those are our examples for your open classes. You had your noun, your verbs, your adjectives, and adverbs. Now we proceed to your closed classes, determiners, pronouns, prepositions, and conjunctions. So first, we have your determiner. So determiners limit the nouns that follow them. So for example, we have your articles. So we have 3 articles in general. Sorry. We have your a, your an, and your the. So articles specify, kumbaga, which noun the speaker is referring to. For example, we usually use your a if ang noun or the first letter of the noun na sinusundan niya is a consonant. Diba? So for example, we have your a bag. So when we say a bag, because you made use of your a, so it is clear that you are referring to this noun, bag, because B, the first letter of the word bag is a consonant and bag is a noun. So it's clear na, okay, he or she is referring to the bag. And naman is usually, obviously, this is used for, or an is used as an article or determiner when the noun that we are referring to, the first letter of the noun begins with a vowel. An apple, an elephant, an eggplant, an orange, and so on and so forth. So your the, kumbaga, so there are a lot of considerations and rules naman in using your the. For example, if you are referring to a specific person, for example, we have you are talking about someone, kunyari si John, na malakat daw diri si John ba, or John is coming to visit our city next month. For example, someone says, the John, so meaning the John, for example, usually we make use of your the, gina-pair siya sa mga proper noun. Di ba we said there kanina na usually we only make use of determiner plus noun if we're talking about general or yung mga common noun. Like a bag, a person, a man, but sometimes you make use, pwede siya i-pair sa proper noun if we are talking about someone famous, like the John. So ibig sabihin, ang John na to nga ginatukoy mo is itong sikat, kumbaga ang pinakasikat na John or itong common nga John na kilala niyo, na parehan yung kilala siya. So that's for your articles. So next, you also have your demonstratives. So your demonstratives are the following: this, that, these, and those. So we make use of your demonstratives to specify the distance of something in space or time in relation to the speaker. So for example, your this and these, kumbaga, this is used by the speaker if an object, for example, is near the speaker. For example, please get this trash. So ibig sabihin, if you make use of this, lapit sa speaker na naghambal ang object na gina-refer niya. For example, please carry these books. So these books, just a plural form of your this. Ibig sabihin, kung ano man tong objects, kayo plural naman, plural form na ginamita, those objects are near the speaker. So when we make use of your that and those naman, we make use of this demonstrative if the objects are away or at a fair distance from the speaker. So for example, can you see that plane? So ibig sabihin layo sa speaker ang plane. Para siya sa distance or sa taas o kung diin man na ang plane na. For example, can you see those people? For example, manugpalapit pa lang itong mga tao, wala pa nakapalapit sa ila. Layo pa. So those people, for example, we make use of those for objects or people or persons, for example, who are or which are plural in number and that are a fair distance or layo sa speaker. So possessives naman as determiner. Possessives are as determiner. These are used before a noun to express possession rather. Sorry. So we have your possessives, my, your, his, her, its, our, and their. So in comparison, when you use your articles versus possessives, mas clear kung kay sino nga possession or owner, kung sino ang owner sa specific object or a person, for example. So for example, please don't touch. We have your sentence na lang. Please don't touch the bag. When we say please don't touch the bag, so general, hindi mo sure kung sino tag-iyas ang bag. Basta ang message is clear, hindi ko tandugon ang bag. But when you say please don't touch my bag. So when you make use of your possessive determiner might, it's clear na kung sino ang owner of that specific noun or specific object. Please don't touch my bag. Hindi daw pagtandugon ang bag kay ako na. For example, or if you are one of the listeners of this sentence, please don't touch my bag. Okay, hindi tatandugon ang bag kay iyan na. That's the difference between the different demonstratives or determiners rather. Next, we have your pronouns. So for pronouns, these are words that stand for a noun or a whole noun phrase. For example, we have your subjective and objective na pronouns. So you can see it there. Your I, you, he, she, it, we, you, they. And the objective forms of those pronouns are me, you, him, her, it, us, and them. So for example, it substitutes kumbaga the nouns, for example, or a noun phrase that we use in sentences para hindi as well redundant na sagad naka-state or balik-balik kasulat ang noun. For example, in the sentence, Dana and Johan are classmates. He loves her. So it's clear as well. So para hindi mo liwat-liwatan, Dana and Johan are classmates. Johan loves Dana. So instead of saying that, since na-state naman kung sino si Dana kag Johan in the first sentence, you could just establish it with the, or substitute it with the use of your pronouns. So he, ang he nga ginamin dire, so it's clear, he nga ginamin is si Johan, and her, who is it the person that he loves, her refers to Dana. So that's for your pronouns. So prepositions, we also have your prepositions. So they connect words to other parts of a sentence and have a close relationship with the word that follows, which is usually a noun. So for example, in, on, about, with, at, to, of, under, above, beside, damo-damo pang examples ng prepositions. So in simple terms, kumbaga, we use your prepositions before a noun or a pronoun to show either direction, to show time, to show place, to show location, or to show spatial relationships or space. For example, we have here the sentences, she drove to the store versus your she drove from the store. When you read or if you hear someone say she drove to the store, it denotes kumbaga direction. Pakadto pa lang siya sa store. She drove to the store. Versus she drove from the store, ibig sabihin, pabalik na siya or pahalin na siya sa store. So there's a difference between your to and your from. There's a difference in direction. At least klaro siya with the use of your prepositions. She drove to the store. Pakadto pa lang siya sa store. She drove from the store. Pahalin na siya sa store. Another is he was born in 1972. So preposition in is usually used to signify, or we use it usually in telling the part of the day. For example, in-appear niya siya usually in part of the day, no particular part of the day. For example, he was or he likes reading in the evening. So not specified time in the evening, basta dira lang sa gabi nga na. from 6 p.m. to 11:59 p.m. So we also use your preposition in for months. So he's going to Japan in November. So we also use it for your years and your season. So for example, he was born in 1972. So when you're talking about a year or years lang, for example, he was born in 1972. We also use it for seasons. So for example, seasons, your summer, spring, winter, and fall. For example, they are going to get married in the winter season. Conjunctions, on the other hand, these are words that join. So we have two types of conjunctions. We have your coordinating conjunctions and we have your subordinating conjunctions. So for coordinating conjunctions, coordinating conjunctions join elements that are grammatically equal. So for example, we have here in the sentence, Marian and Diane wrote this book. So we have the coordinating conjunction, and here it combines Marian and Diane. So these are grammatically equal because Marian and Diane are examples of nouns. They are also equal because they are both proper nouns. Okay, so that's why you could use your and to join these two elements. So for example, we also make use of your and for things that go together, like your salt and pepper, bread and butter. So complementary, we make use of and. Aside from your and, we also have different coordinating conjunctions. So you just remember your fun boys for your acronym for the different coordinating conjunctions. So ito yung acronym for your coordinating conjunction. So it stands for your for and nor, but, or, yet, and so. So yan ang coordinating conjunction. For and, sorry, nor, but, or, yet, and your so. So your semicolon is also considered to be part of your coordinating conjunctions aside from your fun voice. So that's for coordinating conjunctions. Next, we also have your subordinating conjunctions. So these are also called your subordinators because they join a subordinate clause to a main one. So for example, we have here, although Rafael and Roger live far apart, they are still friends. So we have here your subordinating conjunctions. So if your coordinating conjunctions are your fun boys, yung for and nor, but, or, yet, so, and your semicolon, the rest of the conjunctions not mentioned in your coordinating conjunctions are part of your subordinating conjunctions already. Although, because, even though, you know. So they join a subordinate clause to a main clause. So that is the end of our presentation for the different parts of speech under your different classes as well of open class and closed class. So this is the last topic for Linguistics 1. So I hope you have at least learned a thing or two in the entirety of our lessons or our time together in discussing the different microlinguistics na mga branches in linguistics. So that would be all for today. I wish you the best of luck for your final exams. Good day, God bless, and stay safe.